your name and maybe where you're located in the world. I always love to see where everybody's coming in from. It's a lot of fun to see that we're all over the place. Speaking of being all over the place, I'm over here on the West Coast in LA. Where are you guys at over there? Alex and Gilly.
Oh yeah, over here we're out in Manhattan, out in New York.
All right, New York. We got
Holding it
both
down.
coasts. We got the best coast over here, and we got the Beast Coast, I guess. East
I like
Coast.
East Coast. I like East
I
Coast.
don't- yeah, Phoenix. All right, we're in Phoenix and Denver. All right, we're look at that. We got the middle covered now too. Ah, man, I love it. Guys, I am super excited about this webinar today. Oh, more in New York City. You guys should all get together after this and have dinner. I don't know what time is it over there. It'll be dinner time, pretty close.
Dinner, happy hour,
Yeah, happy hour.
coffee.
Happy hour on Alex right after this. Oh, just kidding. The drinks have been covered. They're taken care of.
Wow, this is the webinar's worth it already.
It's already a success. It's all right. We're gonna shut it down and go to happy hour. No, man, I'm super excited because we're gonna be talking about how to do pickup and delivery the easy way. And I don't know if any of you guys are in this business at all. Maybe you own some laundromats. Maybe you know somebody who does. Maybe you've been doing some research on laundromats. Then you know adding pickup and delivery to your self-serve laundry business or even to a like a wash dry fold pickup, a drop off laundry service, it adds a whole nother dimension, a whole level of complexity, and it scares a lot of us owners, frankly. And because there's a lot of logistics that come in on this, and it's just a whole lot more to juggle. So I'm super excited about this to talk about an easy way to get started. I'm all about hitting that easy button. And expanding business, growing business. I had an interview earlier today, a podcast interview, and the guy said that pretty quickly he grew his business, his revenue 20%, and that's pretty awesome to be able to do something like that with the pickup and delivery. So I'm super excited about talking about this. Everybody else who's out there, man, I'm still waiting to see where everybody's coming from. Just because I can't see you doesn't mean I don't want to know where in the world you are. I do want to know. So let me know over in the chat. And also kind of throughout this whole thing, just so everybody knows, throughout this whole webinar, I'm going to be collecting questions. So if you have questions that pop up, maybe something that's being said, put them in the chat. I'm going to be collecting them. We're going to save some time at the very end to do some Q&A to get your questions answered. So whether it's pickup and delivery specific, maybe it's scent specific, maybe it's how we got two super good looking guys in the same room at the same time and the earth has not imploded. I don't know that we know the answer to that, but something worth talking about. Our Virginia, hoping to open in Central Ohio. All right, look at that, man. This is awesome. Okay, so real quick, let me introduce, before we get going on this thing, I just want to introduce, speaking of the two good looking guys sitting in the same room, kind of mad at you guys for not giving me an invite, by the way. We're all together.
Next time.
Next time. Alex Chakowski, who's the CEO of Sense, co-founder and CEO of Sense. Alex Chakowski is building a network of garment care SMBs in order to outsource laundry day in America to local businesses. That's you guys. Alex is doing his part to send business your way. Alex is an experienced founder with an exit under his belt, Forbes 30 under 30 recipient, and is hell-bent on driving, elevating, and growing the laundromat industry. Awesome. Dude, that's like a killer bio.
It's like excellent bio.
I wish I wrote it. Yeah, is everything in there true?
I mean, I think so.
Yeah, dude, killer. Well, hey, not to be outdone, let me introduce you to Gilly Sharon, co-founder and chief product officer of Sense. Gilly is a product leader with a passion for building companies from the ground up, experience in scaling products from the first feature to industry-defining businesses. That's good to put on your resume. Gilly is a seasoned founder, excited to see how the Sense product can empower and inspire the laundromat industry into a new era. You guys sound so epic. Oh man, this is like
there's an epic opportunity in this industry, Jordan.
Good grief, man. I'm just like jazzed right now. I'm so pumped. Okay, so that is who you are. Now that we've got that out of the way, we know that you're obviously great looking and also pretty epic as individuals. Let's talk about what we're all here for, and that is laundry pickup and delivery the easy way. Make it easy for us. How do we do this? Let's get it started. How about with this question? Uh, where where do we get started? You know, if I'm a brand new laundry mat owner, or I want to start a laundry pickup and delivery service, where do we get started? And then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, I think, the unique thing about pickup and delivery is it's one of those elements to a business that can be complementary into what you already have. You could be in the industry for 10 years and realize now is a good time for me to get into the pickup and delivery game. You could be with a buddy, your partner, your spouse, whoever, and you happen to have a car and say, I want to be entrepreneurial and start a pickup and delivery business. I think it's the beautiful thing about laundry is not only is it a great investment, but there are dynamic ownership paths that are lower in capex and upfront costs. And it's just about hustling and grinding and creating that opportunity and getting started. So I think the first thing that you do is get a sense of what are you trying to accomplish? Are you looking to grow your existing business and increase your total addressable market of customers? Do you have a wash and fold business today? Are you trying to get your own pickup and drop off, your own drop off business going as well as pickup and delivery? Are you interested in just getting into laundromat space, but you're not sure if you're ready to open a store? So I think on the outset, you have to think a little bit about what kind of business am I trying to create? What am I willing to put into this business on an investment side? And then from there, it's the next step of how am I going to execute, right? And that's logistics, that's marketing, that's branding, that's partnering with a local provider or using your existing store. So that's what we got to see with a lot of operators, and they're first assessing how they're going to get into this space is what kind of business do I really want to run? Build conviction and excitement about that, and then start to think about what are the next steps in terms of how am I going to get into this efficiently, low risk, but also willing to invest on a logistics and marketing side.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll add to that is it's a focus on what your existing business looks like today. What does your wash and fold business look like today? What are your processes in your store look like today? How is your managed labor? Because the addition of pickup and delivery is really about augmenting, right? You mentioned the person you spoke to earlier today, they grew their business by 20%. That's great. What does it mean to grow your business by 120% or 200% or shut down your self-serve business because your machines are running so much from pickup and delivery? Is that your goal? Right? Maybe it's not, right? Maybe you want to augment a little bit. But either way, to get started, the number one step is to say, let me take a look at my business. Let me take a look at my process to say, am I ready to augment the business?
Yeah, I mean that reminds me of Waleed Cope, right? One of your guys' clients came on the podcast, who ended up shutting down his self-service part because his pickup and delivery just is booming, right?
And that process took time.
Yeah, totally. Okay, well, I mentioned earlier that it can be a little bit intimidating to start a pickup and delivery business, especially from scratch. So, Gilly, I'm curious from you, what are some of the ways that maybe Scent, for example, is simplifying things for operators, making it a little bit simpler to get going, get started? What are some things that you guys have been doing to do that?
Yeah, so obviously technology can play a big role in the ability to accomplish this, right? So there's two major fears. One, of course, is cost, right? And then the other was, can I handle it? If I get this new business in, can I process it? What about the driver? What am I going to do in order to pick up and deliver? What if I lose a bag, right? There's all this extra stuff that you take on when you do pick up and delivery. So there is a cost to growing your business, right? So Sense and technology is really looking at ways to say, hey, how can we kind of attack this problem a number of ways? From a cost perspective, sure, there's two areas that come into cost is A, am I hiring my own drivers, yes or no? And of course, we work with kind of gig and other providers say, hey, you actually don't have to take any of that cost on yourself, right? That's number one. And number two is efficiency, right? The more efficient we are, the lower the cost on a per delivery or per order basis it's going to be. And so Stem kind of attacks this problem in a couple of ways. A, from a technology perspective, we try to provide, driver app and whatever it is to go ahead and run this piece end to end. And that's what we're really going to look for from a technology perspective is there a guiding tool that is going to help you take this to the next level? And then one thing that we talk about, and I want Alex to speak to it also, because I think he's got some interesting thoughts around it, but this notion of, okay, let me get started with the gig economy. Let me go ahead and think about what does it mean to outsource this? What is the cost, what is the cost benefit analysis there when thinking about working with a third party like a DoorDash or whoever it might be?
Yeah, I think that a lot of what we talk about at Sense is providing operators optionality. There isn't, or let me rephrase, in the industry, there has only been one way to get into pickup and delivery. There has only been one way to really start a pickup and delivery business. And what Sense is really trying to create is that optionality, not just in logistics, whether it's localized couriers that use the Sense driver app or the 1099 drivers that we try to tell our operators to look into for themselves, because if they don't want to use DoorDash or Uber or whatever gig partner there is, there are more dynamic logistics options that have been normalized over the last decade that you can explore. And maybe it's a mix of both, right? I'm not going to have my own drivers on the weekends. It's too expensive. And I already have great traffic coming into my store. I don't need to worry about my drivers going out on the weekends. But with a gig economy integration, I can still leverage logistics on that basis. But going a step further, what are other ways that you as an operator can leverage other small businesses as drop locations? Why aren't stores partnering with the local coffee shop and say, hey, I'll pay you $50 a day. Just let some of our customers drop a bag off when they're getting their coffee, right? There's so many ways without touching a line of code and without being developers that, of course, we try to build as many parts of our product to be dynamic in that way. But we also want to share insights with our operators that say, look, use Sense or not. We'll tell you that we have the best system for it. But our message and our goal is to provide as much education and opportunities for dynamic ownership to give our operators more insight into what is possible. And let's think creatively on how we can evolve as customer trends evolve, as other industries evolve. And so I think that's the unique nature of the symbolism that our integrations with a DoorDash, Uber, et cetera have, right? On top of that, there are some other elements that when you partner with the gig economy and you use other companies, they assume liability that you don't have to take on yourself. So let's think about how do we decrease costs? How do we decrease, or increase reliability by if you have one driver and they don't show up to work today, you no longer have a driver that day, right? But if you're using a network of drivers, it's a little bit different, right? If your driver in your business damages or loses as a customer has a negative experience, that's on you, right? However, you have more control in that experience. So there's always pros and cons both ways. But again, it's about optionality, and it's not a 1 or a 0, black or white. Let's think creatively on how we can increase the amount of orders that can come into your store, decrease the cost, and give the most options to the customer for a great experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that's been kind of missing out of the equation, right? Is that optionality. There's kind of only really been one way to go about it. That's to go hire drivers and buy a van or rent a van or whatever, and and start getting going that way. And I think, frankly, that's pretty overwhelming. When you're first getting started, because you're like, it's a pretty big investment. First of all, or, I mean, your other option is you could hire somebody who drives their own car, and there's some liability issues with that. And, and again, you lose a little bit of control. And so, but having the options to, utilize, like you were saying, the gig economy to, get that laundry to and from your laundromat, if that's your business right now, where you just have a laundromat, maybe you have a wash, dry, fold or whatever, and you have that being utilized there, that gives you a lot of options because it takes out the logistics side of the business for you. But I'm curious, let's say I start a pickup and delivery service and I decide I want to utilize the gig economy. So I partner with Sense and, I'm using DoorDash or whatever to get laundry pickup and delivered, I guess. Am I stuck with that? How do I grow from there?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I think probably one of the most important questions that you're going to ask is, do I grow out of, or do I get to a point where I've captured enough volume that I can now justify getting my own van, or it necessitates getting my own van? Have I grown my business so much that I'm getting all sorts of accounts, right? My retail accounts, but also commercial accounts. Have I grown so much that I say, yes, now is the time to have my van? And I don't think it's an either or, just like Alex said. It's not now that I've justified buying my own van, I'm going to turn off the gig economy, because the gig economy really just allows total flexibility. I'll give you one example, is that we have an operator that we work with that, runs a great operation. He is the driver. He decided to go on vacation. His pickup and delivery service didn't stop, right? Because he also had the gig economy that took it up, came back from vacation, started it up again. And we have all sorts of mechanisms in order to keep that cost low for the end customer. But it was a way for him to maintain that relationship with his customer base. Because one of the things that we need to have in laundry, because it is laundry, is this level of consistent quality and consistent managing expectations with our customers. And so, the other piece of it, right, keep being afraid to get into it, means that you have to maintain, you're reaching a different target market, right? And you have to maintain and manage those expectations. This is not necessarily the self-serve customer base. It's a different customer base that's looking for that regular service. So I think that the gig economy, plus having my own drivers and then growing out of just the gig economy into my own drivers, is absolutely the way to go.
And everybody's math is different.
Correct.
Right? The amount of customers depends on how many machines you have, what is your labor profile, how big is your store, what are your costs. It may mean that after 20 deliveries a day, it makes more sense to start to bring that in-house and bring on a fleet of drivers, right? For other operators, if you have 7,000 square feet, 20 orders a day doesn't move the needle enough to do that. And so I think that what we try to do with all of our partners is, again, if you choose one direction, you're not locked in either way. Let's be dynamic, let's be flexible, and let's work together to understand what are your economics and what is the math.
That's right.
Right? It's not a one size fits all. What works for one operator in one metro in one part of the country could be very different for another operator. And so it's our job to build a product and to build a company that can be a one size fits all, but also tailored to the experience, because we know that while laundry there's a real process and there are complexities, the end product at any store should be somewhat similar, right? There should be a consistency in the laundry that the customer is receiving. However, the way that the processing can be done, if there are 10 different stores, could be 20 different processes, right? And so knowing that going in, we need to be mindful of being able to support all the different kinds of operations while understanding that we can't standardize things too much.
Yeah, I love that. And Gilly, going back to one of the things that you said, I love the example of, your operator who wanted to go on vacation, so kind of flip the switch, which is kind of interesting. Well, real quick before I say what I say, I mean, how difficult is it to kind of flip the switch, to use gig economy drivers, to turn that off, that capability off, or maybe keep both on? I mean, is that difficult to do in your system? How does that work?
It's literally one click.
Okay.
Well, yeah, so basically you go in, you offer, you have my own drivers where you set up your own routes, you set up your own times. I go this time on Mondays and this time on Tuesdays and this, this zip code on this day. A lot of flexibility to build routes, because again, the goal here is efficiency, and we're going to talk about it, because like step one is, how do we start this? How do we get it going, right? And then step two is, how do we augment this in a really efficient way? So in sense, you go ahead and you establish what your own drivers, when your routes are. Right? And then you also say, yes, I want to offer the gig economy, and you basically just turn it on, because that is done for you. That's already built in the back end. The integration with Sense is built. So all you do is turn that on. And so when your customers go, they say, oh, I can either have it picked up at this time, during this hour and this hour, or if I need on demand, I have that option as well. And so that's how Sense kind of brings it together. And so this operator literally went click, and then when his customers the next time went to order delivery, they just only saw the on-demand option. The operator has the ability to subsidize that fee, so the cost stays consistently low for the end consumer. Their experience is great, and that was it. And then when he came back, he just started driving again. And again, to Alex's point, everyone's calculation is different. And the number one advice we have is, like, do the math. what does your proverbial cost per delivery actually cost your business? What's your average order size? How are you going to increase that average order size so you can justify a higher subsidy or driving a little bit further or whatever it is? Do the math, because that will unlock the opportunity in front of you.
Yeah. And what I love about that, especially that one example, is that laundry is what I call it's a rhythmic business, right? People get into a habit. I do my laundry every Saturday, right? Send my laundry in every Wednesday or whatever, right? And it's a rhythm that people get into. And when you disrupt that rhythm too many times, maybe you go on vacation and you're not available, so they try someone else. And now they're starting to develop a new rhythm and it interrupts everything, right? So being able to flip that switch and have somebody continue to run your route for you while you're, on a cruise in the Caribbean or whatever, is priceless, really. I mean, I'm not saying this is the case for that, but I would probably pay money. I'd take a loss on being able to do that just to maintain consistency, because the lifetime value of that customer is going to be maintained for a longer period of time in that scenario.
And think of it this way: if you don't have pickup and delivery at all, and you just have over the counter, what you're able to do now is increase the price of the same service that you have inside of your store. And if you leverage the gig economy, you're not incurring any costs associated to it. So if you did want to subsidize, you can build that cost in to the increased per pound price of your service. If the walk-in drop-off is $1.25 a pound or $1.50 a pound, it's very normal to charge $1.75 or even $1.85 for pickup and delivery, but you haven't introduced any cost. So that's pure margin for you with everything else built in. So Jordan, when you talk about taking a loss, you could subsidize the entire delivery and still make money off of it. And I think that's one of the more unique things about it, is you already have so much investment into your store. How can we unlock ways for you to increase price and increase the order value of every order that you have coming into your store without changing anything about your operation and without changing or increasing any added costs?
Yeah, and so I think that you're absolutely right. The rhythm of the customer base, the rhythm of doing laundry, is the secret sauce to a successful business, but it's also a delicate relationship that we have with our customer. And so if we break that customer experience, and that goes right, customers' experiences, the expectation there is changing, right? Everybody orders everything on their phone now. And so there's a high demand for a really smooth, easy, an understood kind of experience that they do pick up and delivery for all the different services. It shouldn't be different for laundry. And we should make sure that we're providing that and that we maintain those expectations so we don't lose that business. Because if it is a loss in the beginning, if we're trying to understand what is my opportunity in this market, let me go ahead and give some promos. Let me go ahead and expand. Let me go ahead and subsidize the entire fee of the pickup and delivery, because the lifetime value of that customer is so real, right? Long-term, years to come, is so valuable that giving their first order or whatever for free is probably a good decision and a great way to test out a market and grow that customer base, as long as you can maintain that consistency.
Yeah, that's huge. And I love the idea of, DoorDash paying for my vacation while I'm sitting on the beach in, the Bahamas or something. It's great. It's great. Okay. We got a lot of questions, and I've been just like, throwing you stuff out of the blue because I'm curious. But we've kind of hit on some of this stuff, but what are some of the biggest game changers of using the gig economy? Obviously, some of these things that we're just talking about are the main points that are, it makes it a game changer, right? I'm just curious. Is there anything else you want to hit on about that?
Yeah, I'd add that one of our operators gained 6 commercial accounts in 2 weeks by adding the gig economy in that way, just by adding logistics when she doesn't have logistics infrastructure. Mm-hmm. That is a game changer, not just increasing your total addressable market on the customer base, but you can now reach out to the restaurants, the coffee shops, the gyms, the hotels, the apartment buildings, and gain that access to that demand without introducing the cost. If there's a restaurant that's 10 blocks away, it's not far, but it's too far to walk. Mm-hmm. Don't ask that new commercial customer, hey, we'll do your laundry, but you got to bring it here, right? Instead, you can do that on-demand logistics and on-demand ordering and unlock the commercial side of the business. And we've seen that be massively successful for stores that, unless the commercial customer brings it to them, they're unable to capture that side of the market.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's huge. Just, and like you said, it's like, it's kind of a no-brainer. Like if you have an over-the-counter, like a wash, dry, fold, or a pick up and deliver, I mean, a drop-off laundry service, like it's kind of a no-brainer to just flip that switch, right? And just say, hey, you know, if somebody wants to just bring me laundry, then sure, like bring me laundry, right?
There's very little reason not to offer it unless your process in store is not up to date, because then you'll just lose customers, obviously. But if you're ready to do it, there's no reason to not have it turned on. It's an excellent, I'll give you an example from my own life. I was home, sent out my laundry, and then later in that same day, I sent that out at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The laundromat that I sent it to happened to not have a crazy busy day. They finished the laundry. I got a text message at like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. I was in a different location. I was not at home. I got a text message, and not nobody, but most operators don't have their own drivers on the road 9, 10 o'clock at night. But DoorDash is on the road 9, 10 o'clock at night. So I got a text message saying my laundry's ready, and I had it delivered to a different address the same day. I got same day delivery from a 2 o'clock in the afternoon order into 2 different locations because of this flexibility. And for me, it changed laundry. Like obviously I play with this. I think about these things all the time in this business, but it changed the experience so intrinsically that it, like, laundry became this thing where I was waiting for the driver, I was doing, or there's a lot of waiting in laundry. And this just, it met me where I was. It met my needs where I needed them. And I think that's really consistent with kind of, again, the consumer expectation of today.
Dude, I mean, just that story just got my gears turning. I'm like, there's so many opportunities. Like, even just like people vacationing. I don't know. Like, I live by Disneyland, you know, and like the beach and everything. Like, people there and they're staying at their hotels and they're here for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and just, you know, sticking a sign in at the hotel desk saying, "Hey, DoorDash your laundry," and you know, have it pick up, and like, oh my gosh, like you can have it delivered straight to the hotel. I mean, dude, my gears were turning.
Whenever you want. It's not, honey, we have to leave the beach because the laundry's coming. It's, honey, we'll get the laundry whenever we want it.
And think about dry cleaning as well, right? I mean, so much about laundromats are saying, we'll take care of laundry day. Well, in reality, laundry day still exists because you have to be home for 4 hours in that 4-hour window, and you're still thinking about it. You still have to plan where you're going to be within that 3-day period. And so the dynamic nature, but I didn't even think for dry cleaning, it becomes even more interesting, because if you have a meeting and you need that suit and you can't rush home, or you're going to the airport, or it does change a lot of the way that laundry day is, where you can actually, you know, laundry day is not a day anymore. It meshes with what you're doing in your life.
It's on your schedule.
It's on your schedule. And I think, but one of the things that we just talked about is like, why wouldn't you do it? And I think an important thing for the folks listening in to think more about is, like, let's talk about why you wouldn't do it. What are the issues? What are the concerns that people have? Because there's a lot of messaging in the industry, I'd say, of people trying to put this down in some capacity. They're trying to say, oh, it doesn't work. And one of the things that we feel very passionately about is, look, it doesn't necessarily work for everyone. If it's not something that you want to put into practice of your business, but we just want to think a little. I would think it'd be an interesting conversation to think more openly. Yeah, glitches in the system. Let's talk about what happens. What if a DoorDash or Uber or gig economy driver doesn't show up? What happens if they want to bring the laundry to a customer and the customer doesn't respond and doesn't answer? Like, there are use cases that I can imagine an operator who's interested in this, but is nervous about the what if scenarios. And those are things that, now that we've been doing this for a long time, we pretty much know every what if scenario. And so I think it'd be an interesting point of the conversation. We can just kind of dive right into it to talk about, why wouldn't you do it? Because we could sit here and take well over an hour giving you all the reasons to do it and the game changers. But I think just diving into that, and I'll just toss one example out there. We had relatively recently, we saw with an operator. Now, Sense and our support team has 100% visibility into where a driver is, where the store is, where the customer is, the drop-off notes, the pickup notes, who the driver is, their phone number, their license plate, their vehicle. We have all of the insights and information to be able to support our customers and their customers along the process. and the end user has visibility into if their driver's on the way and those kinds of insights. But recently we had a driver show up to the building, they ran the buzzer, they called the customer didn't pick up, customer wasn't home, they were running late. So that practice is the driver brings it back to the store and the customer gets to reschedule their delivery, right? And so there are built-in processes to make that happen. Now, we've been doing a lot of deliveries and no laundry has ever been lost. It's never been damaged, never been tampered with. But of course, there's insurance up to $2,000. And we all know that laundry bag of Old Navy shirts and jeans turns into Versace once it goes missing. And so maybe that $50 or $100 worth of clothes has sentimental value that adds another, $2,000 to the price tag, right? And so while we have never experienced any of those issues, we have coverage there. Another experience that we see is laundromat owners saying, "Hey, my driver has a personal relationship with our customers. We care deeply about the personal relationship we have with our customers." And I think that's an important point of how do you build that? And Jordan, I think you and I on another webinar talked about how can we increase the customer experience even without software and without anything. And that's how your driver acts. It's the handwritten note you put in the bag of wash and fold. It's the way that you package things. It's the promos and loyalty campaigns that you run. But what we've seen is these Dashers or Uber drivers are the same people that are delivering food to hungry customers frequently. They want to have these relationships because that's how they make their money, on tips, on ratings, on reviews. Unlike a lot of other systems, if there's a Dasher or a Uber driver, gig economy delivery and logistics provider who has a negative experience, they can be totally removed from the platform and never deliver laundry ever again. Again, it's not something we've had to put into practice regularly whatsoever, but we have that visibility, the ability to apply the reviews, tips as a mechanism for social responsibility. And so I just think they're important things for operators who are interested but hesitant, to be very open with what are the potential issues you foresee and how are we as a company or these other large, big public companies addressing those concerns.
Yeah. Yeah, super good. And there's questions rolling. Keep those questions coming in. We're going to get to those questions. So keep them rolling in. And as they're talking and those questions pop up, if you guys feel like you want to jump in on a specific one, you can. I only have two more main questions for you. And first of all, I'm curious, why pickup and delivery? Why has Sense kind of gone into the pickup and delivery space? I know that you guys have started out in the laundry space, so why pickup and delivery?
Yeah, we really believe that laundromats have an opportunity to grow their businesses, and pickup and delivery from a mechanics perspective is the easiest way to expand your quote unquote addressable market. Right now, if you don't have pickup and delivery, you're catering a relatively small swath of area that can come and bring laundry in. And by offering pickup and delivery, again, from a mechanics perspective, it just expands that reach, right? So it allows you to bring in additional volume into your store, have your machines turning more often and making more money. And so it's not just a conversation, obviously, about the gig economy. It's very exciting. It's a no-cost way to jumpstart that pickup and delivery. But Sense is working on a number of things that will say, okay, what else are we going to do to allow these customers to augment their businesses, right? And a great example, Alex kind of hinted at it earlier. What about these drop locations? What about working directly with buildings, right? And how do we go ahead and integrate that with the standard pickup and delivery experience that we already offer? And so the idea here is, okay, we're going to go ahead and work with a couple of drop locations, excuse me, the cafe, 7-Eleven, the coffee shop that wants those people that are coming for coffee to come bring their laundry, or the people that are bringing their laundry to buy coffee, right? How are we going to go ahead and set up these drop locations for 10, 15, 25 bags can aggregate in one place? Because one delivery stop, they can pick up 10 bags is amazing. But again, we need to give that same level of consistency. We can't force all of our customers to go to the coffee shop to drop off their laundry. So when Sense routes these delivery routes, right, for your own drivers, they will take the coffee shop, the residential building, and the guy's apartment and the other person's house, right? and they will go ahead and algorithmically route that. So you're stopping in the most efficient way, bringing home the most amount of possible volume. And of course, we're routing pickup and delivery on the same route. So our quote unquote cost per delivery goes down and our profits go up. And the more we can aggregate demand into one place, this Uber pool has kind of started it, but it's gone to every industry. The more we can do that, the more we can make from our pickup and delivery business. And at the end of the day, Sense is trying to empower this industry, our partner laundromats, to go ahead and grow their business. And so pickup delivery is just the tip of that iceberg that allows you to expand and grow that market to buildings, coffee shops, commercial, so on and so forth.
And then the important thing is when you work with Sense, look, we're going to give you the best software. That's the case. But what you get is Gilly, and you get Gilly's mind, and you have Gilly's team, and you have the rest of our team. And that is for us one of the secret sauces of what makes us so passionate about the industry. Is, as Gilly said, our laundromats are not our customers, they're our partners. We want to brainstorm. We talk to every customer as frequently as we can, as much time as they'll give us, so we can have ideas together. Again, not every great idea to grow your business has to do with a line of code, has to do with a feature in the product. It's how can we take what you have in your operation and your technology and grow and think dynamically and use us as resources as folks that get to learn from a bunch of different industries, through our investors, through our partners, through our advisors, through our network of Silicon Valley tech companies that we want to bring that kind of energy and those ideas to our operators to help them grow their business.
Yeah, and there was a question I saw about kind of support and getting started in training. And Sense never, we're quickly growing, but we never grow that sales team without growing that customer success team. And that's a really important point. And we're not doing that because we're nice, right? We're doing that because the success of our laundry partners is our success. And so it is in our interest. Our interests are aligned.
We're also nice.
Yeah, and we're nice, sure. But we're just trying to say, hey, if we don't provide that level of support for you to succeed, to set up pickup and delivery, which is really, really simple to set up, but we still want to walk you through it just to make sure that you know exactly what to expect, because it's real life, right? It's not just software. You're not just sending out a form to get signed. There are people with their clothes. It's intimate. We have to make sure that we handle this process and maintain that end customer's experience. And our team is here to kind of really handhold you through that process.
And I love Doug and Andy's question of not only do we offer support, but they're currently only doing self-serve. And they see that I have a self-serve laundromat. Why am I not maybe trying to add a little bit more on my existing assets and the underutilization of machines? Because even if your machines are turning twice the industry average, they're turning 8 times a day, there's still a lot of excess capacity that we can drive more volume. So the kind of operator that says, I have a self-serve store and I'm interested in getting into pickup and delivery or offering full service, choose Sense or not, that's the kind of, Doug and Andy are exactly the kind of operators we'd love to be able to speak to and share what's working for our other operators who did the exact same thing, especially during COVID. We have an operator in New York who's a self-serve operator. They set up a little cocktail in one of those circular high tables, cocktail tables. They put a Sense tablet, a card reader, a printer, and that's it. And they took a unit of labor, one employee who they shared between stores for 4 hours a day, and just sat there, took in the orders, and sent it to another store for processing, or actually at this store, they just did it at their self-serve laundry. There are so many dynamic ways that we've been able to see our operators use our system, but also grow their own business. So I think it's one of the coolest things to see the self-serve stores be able to take advantage of these low cost to no cost efforts to increase their machine turns and revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And the other thing that I'll just mention on your behalf is you guys also have like a pretty cool community of operators too, who, some of which are willing to talk to people who are trying to start their businesses up, right? You've had a couple of people who've used Sense on my podcast and who've come and shared their story and who've said they're willing to talk to people. I'm sure you have other, people in the network who are willing to help. And so that's huge. I mean, having that network of, people whose job it is to help you, and support and help you get started is awesome. And then also having a network of people who are actually in the trenches doing it, and have learned the lessons you can only learn by doing it. that are available to kind of network with. So that's pretty cool.
What's great about having kind of a nationwide network of operators, you have different perspectives from all over the place. And obviously, since it's all about community over competition, sharing those ideas, learning from each other, what worked for me, what didn't work for me. Oh, I found a like business over somewhere else in the country, and I'm going to go ahead and learn from that. So we want to foster those relationships as much as possible, and also leverage our own knowledge, right? We're speaking to these operators all the time. So people have questions about how other people operate. We can speak to that, not necessarily give advice because everybody's business is different, but we can speak to the different things that we do see, and we're always happy to share kind of that bird's eye view.
And my favorite thing is that about this industry is that operators are passionate about what they're doing, about their business, about the industry, about growth. And so it's not even like we don't go to our customers and say, hey, can you do us a favor and talk to this operator? It's this is an amazing opportunity. You get to connect with somebody else and they love it. So that's one of the greatest joys for us is never feels like an ask to connect one operator with another to share. How did you market DoorDash? How did you get that building to sign up? How did you gain that commercial customer? How did you go from self-serve to full serve? How did you find dynamic ways to utilize labor, to do automated self-serve wash and fold drop off? I mean, there's so many unique things that our operators have tried. We have a customer that has a drive-through, like a McDonald's that just you drive through and it hands your laundry over it through a window. It's the coolest thing. And so we love to be able to connect different folks with each other to show that there are so many different things that you can do. And instead of trying everything on your own and taking that risk, de-risk it by talking to other folks that have tried it and done it.
Yeah, love that. Okay, I have one more question, and then I want to get to some of these other questions that we haven't hit yet over here. And Alex, you and I have done a full webinar on this. So, and if it's something that you're interested in and you want to hear more about, I'm sure you can, shoot the Sense team an email and they can give you a link to that full webinar. I think I have the full webinar posted on the Laundromat Resource YouTube channel too. So if you're interested in this topic and you want to hear more in depth about it, you can check that out. But keep it brief for us because I want to get to some of these other questions too. But I am curious, and I think other people. Yeah, I know. I think other people would be curious too. What changes do you think are here and are coming in the laundry industry, specifically with pickup and delivery, and how that's changing the industry as we move forward? And again, save us some time. We only have like 15 minutes left. Okay, save us a little time for these Q&As.
So I think in pickup and delivery, the biggest shift is consumers are realizing that they can send more things out. They can do less of the things they don't want to do. And that could be some people don't like cooking. So they're ordering food now more than ever. People don't want to do their own laundry. They're sending it out. So many services. They don't want to go to the store that is 5 minutes away from their house. They don't want to drop off the package at the post office. They don't want to do the mundane, everyday things that 10 years ago everybody had to do.
Or they took for granted because they just assumed it as a pain that they had to deal with. And today, convenience is king, and we have an opportunity to kind of dive in and lean into that reality.
I also think that the operators the independent owner operator has never been more powerful now than ever, because you have direct to consumer, right? The laundry brands that are just a brand. But guess where they're doing all their processing? The local operator. In this industry, more than many others, right? In restaurants, ghost kitchens exist, right? You don't have to be a restaurant to be on Uber Eats or DoorDash or Grubhub, etc. But in laundry, the local operator, because there's a process, there's a meaningful investment, and they're already situated in the cities, in the suburbs, in densely populated areas, it is the most defensible side of a growing and changing technological shift and consumer habit shift. But the operator has never been more powerful to demand the pricing that makes sense for them, to own the operations, the processing flow, and really be the platform and the partner that's going to be able to receive all of this new demand that didn't exist 10 years ago.
Yeah, I have two thoughts on that. There's literally a Whole Foods that I could walk to less than 5 minutes from my house, walking, and I still order it on Amazon. Amazon have it
We're
delivered.
all guilty of that.
Yeah.
It's
Uh,
easy.
yeah. Yeah. And my other thought is, I mean, here's the other thing is that there is still so many people who don't even know that this service exists in our country. I think okay, listen, I have, I run Laundromat Resource, got a podcast. I own 2 laundromats. I was just talking to my neighbor this week and was like, she was complaining about doing laundry all day. And I was like, why don't you just have it, somebody come pick it up and do the laundry and then deliver it to you? And she's like, that's a thing. And I was like, yes, yes, that's a thing. Like, how do you not know about this? And I was talking to my tax guy and the same thing. He's like, I didn't even know you could do that. So, I mean, there's just so many people who don't even know this thing exists. So I think the growth potential for this also is just massive still. I mean, we already know it's been growing rapidly, but I think there's a long way to go still.
And it's becoming more accessible.
Yeah.
And it's something that we saw during COVID as well. It becomes more accessible, but that point goes really well into a question that we've seen that in the chat, which is like, how do you reach the customer, right? Okay, we have the best technology via Sense. We have the dynamic logistics in DoorDash or Uber or whatever, independent contract, whatever it is. And all the infrastructure is there. I just retooled. I got new machines. I got branding. I got everything. But how do we reach the customer? And that's something when we talk about the partnership that we have with our customers to be able to lend as much advice and feedback, connect with other operators to say, what were the tips and tricks that you utilize? And then also connect with partners like we have in Dennis and Diaz and the Spinner team. And think about what are effective ways for laundromats to be seen by customers in their area, outside their area, and digitally. And then how do we track that user journey? How did they discover us? When did they place their order? Did they place their order again? How frequently are they doing it? What is the value of that customer? How much did it cost for me to acquire them? These are metrics where when you start to actually bring those customers into your business, that's great to know that more customers are coming in, but we want to also dig deeper into the data and the insights as to how they found it, how they found you, how much it costs for them to find you, and did they come back?
Yeah, and I'll just add to that is the opportunity of the Sense Laundromat partnership. The more and more laundromats that we have in our network, the more of them out there trying to reach more customers, the more the general market is being educated, right? Just like you're saying, people don't even know about it. But if everybody's working toward the same goal, then the rising tide that is going to lift all of our boats will just rise higher, because we're going to be out there collectively educating this market. And that's really the message here, is that we do this together, that tide will rise.
Yeah, huge. And going back to what Alex was saying, I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunity in this industry. I think there's a lot of changes going on. By far, like, it's not even close in my opinion, by far the biggest opportunity for growth and for change is that data that you're talking about, right? Having the data, knowing where people are coming from, knowing how much it costs you to acquire a new customer, knowing how much on average you're going to get from a customer when you do acquire them, so you can make better business decisions and really streamline your company when you have that data. And that is something that we have not had as an industry like at all until very recently. We're just on the tip of the iceberg on the data thing. And so I really love what you guys are doing with the data collection stuff. And I know we've talked kind of offline about even more stuff that's coming down the line. So pretty cool.
Yeah, one of my favorite uses of data, and again, all the data, of course, is owned by our customers, and we don't do anything with that other than make sure our customers have access to it. But we had an operator who was telling us about their business and how they track. Now, this is not pickup and delivery related directly, but they were telling us how they track good weeks and bad weeks. And they do is they flip through, this is prior to Sense, they would flip through this book, and in the top right-hand corner, there was either a sunshine or a rain cloud, because they realized that the only times they had bad weeks is when it rained, because less people walked to their store if it had rained that week. And so the smallest element of that, when you just see, oh, I had a down week or I had a good week, just knowing the weather actually is a direct correlation. how busy, the traffic. Was there a sports game? Am I close to an arena where traffic was so bad people didn't want to leave their house? There are small things that are agnostic of the marketing activities that you perform, the quality of your store, the quality of the processing of just around, just in the world, that would impact the performance in a given week. And so having access and trying to visualize that data and think creatively, that's our job, is to think, what are the different metrics that you don't control, that have nothing to do with your store, that are valuable for you to know as you go about operating your business.
And planning and strategizing for the next time it rains.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, first of all, I want to say awesome stuff today, guys. This has been really cool. A lot of really, really great information. You guys not only gave a lot of really good information, but you did it with all the good looks and charisma of two all-stars like yourselves. I want to just encourage everybody else who's here and who's listening in right now. I mean, there's opportunities to continue these conversations with these guys. Maybe you're sold and you're ready to, jump on board with pickup and delivery, and you think maybe Sense is right for you. I'll make sure a link gets dropped in the chat over there on how you can talk more about that and see what Sense has to offer. Maybe you're not sold yet and you're not sure if you want to go into the pickup and delivery. It's probably a good opportunity for you to have a conversation. Oh, look at that, man. I say it and it happens. Man, I should maybe utilize this power. I'm trying to think of something else I can get to pop up there. But maybe it's a good opportunity for you to click on that link right there and go have a conversation with them and just be honest. Say, hey, I'm not really sure if I'm going to go this pickup and delivery route, but I just want to hear a little bit more, continue on in this conversation. So I just want to encourage you guys to do that. Some of these questions I think are going to be best answered in those conversations. But let's try to get to a few of them here. And, Alex, you brought up, way back, you brought up a couple of things that could go wrong. And I think that is something, business owners in general tend to be control freaks, we want to control our businesses and we have difficulty giving up control of our businesses. And despite the fact that restaurants can do it and, all these other, delivery things, businesses are giving up the logistics side of their business to, gig economy workers and stuff like that too. But nonetheless, it's difficult for business owners to give up control. So can you just, there's a million different scenarios of things that could go wrong, but you brought one or two up. For example, what happens if a driver doesn't show up, right? And that's going to reflect on our business. So can you just walk us through what happens if a driver doesn't show up in that particular scenario?
Yeah, so the acceptance rate and show up rate is very, very high. But we also, again, we have visualization over all of this information. If we know a driver's doesn't show up, the beauty of it is there are hundreds of thousands of other drivers in the network that we can dispatch and call to that to that provider. So when somebody doesn't show up, there could be a minor delay, but another dasher or driver or whatever is going to be sent directly to that customer again, right? So there's always a fail-safe behind something because it's all tracked. And it's not just a random network of people that get a text message that there's an order. All of this is tracked via GPS, every single step. We know the car type, where they are, the license plate, the driver information. And if they didn't show up, we have a long list of other people that this is then sent out to that are already driving near the customer. So it's not like somebody's coming from 50 miles away to try to pick up that order as a replacement. There are thousands of other drivers and folks to come in. And I'd say it has the same impact that if your driver is late or your car breaks down, it's the same kind of impact that the customer is going to be notified that they have to reschedule their order. The difference is if your van or your driver is late, there is no backup. And I think that is nobody's perfect. We're not going to sit here and say 100% of the time everything works 100%, but it has one has an exceptionally high success rate, but there's always a fail-safe to make sure that the customer experience is positive.
Yeah.
We're working with companies like a DoorDash or an Uber or whatever it is that are seeing these sorts of exceptions all the time. And just because it's rare doesn't mean never. And that's true in all of our businesses, right? And so yes, technology has built-in fail-safes and automatic text messages and automatic replacement drivers to help solve for it. But again, I can't stress this enough. Providing a good customer service, being transparent with your customers, speaking to your customers, making sure your customers feel heard, solves.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you, it's a lot better if, a DoorDasher doesn't show up and, just another one comes a little bit later than if your driver doesn't show up to work and now I have to go drive and pick up laundry, right? Like that's a much better scenario. Yeah. I love that answer. And I love that because, again, it's a concern, right? Like if you're going to trust somebody else with your business and your reputation, in a sense, you want to know that there are fail safes available, that there's backups, because like you said, everybody knows like things go wrong. Whenever you're dealing with people or things, something's going to go wrong at some point, right? But to know that you're working with companies that this is what they do, right? They're logistics companies. They do this. And so they've run into everything, plenty of times before and have been able to figure that out. Love that. Somebody had asked about the cost to start the program, and I'm not going to ask you that question. I'm going to actually direct you. If you have that question, because this is a recorded webinar and it's going to get posted around and costs fluctuate here and there, I'm not going to ask you guys that question here, but I would just encourage you, go to trisense.com/demo, go book a demo, and they can run down the costs. And, if you tell them that I sent you, then, I don't know, maybe Alex will give you a signed something.
A signed Jordan Berry headshot.
Yeah, maybe I'll give you a headshot.
Is invaluable.
Alex will sign your
I'll
headshot.
I mean, it's really weird that he's the one signing my headshot, but I mean, that's what we worked out. So
It's a 2-for-1.
that's
My
right.
picture, your picture, it's the best of both worlds.
It's great. It's great. Yeah. So, and similarly, somebody asked about the best setup. And again, that can vary so much depending on the situation. There's so many different types. I mean, you think of like Ariana, who's, who does Sense, and she just runs solely pickup and delivery with the gig economy, versus a Waleed who has a large and robust pickup and delivery and just supplements with, gig economy. There's a ton of different ways to do it. But one of the cool things is you guys have that support system already built out, people to help walk you through and think about your situation with you and help you design the best system. So I want to ask you that either. But can you talk a little bit about, because I think this is a big question too, obviously pickup and delivery when you're using gig economy workers is not free. So, and you had mentioned that you have different ways to kind of help people navigate that, whether that's, charging the customers or supplementing that somehow. Can you give some scenarios on how that delivery fee is handled? How do the DoorDashes and the Ubers get paid?
Yeah, so it's all standardized based on whatever company that we're working with, whether it's an Uber or a DoorDash, usually just based on distance. And so those fees are kind of fixed, and it varies a little bit based on location. And so if whoever wants to understand and dive deep into the cost there, we can easily lay it out and explain exactly what that cost structure is. And it's totally transparent. And we just say, hey, this is the cost structure, right? Because these things do cost money. There is a driver, he gets out of the car, he puts a bag in his car. And so we need to go ahead and say, okay, there's a cost here. What are we going to do about it? How are we going to help smooth that? And there's a couple ways that I want to discuss it. First of all is, of course, what I mentioned earlier was this ability to subsidize that fee, right? Share the cost with your customer. We are now in some of the new designs that we're working on that are coming out very, very soon, actually show the customer that the operator subsidized this fee, right? And so we're able to go ahead and bring that cost down. The second piece is communication. If you just explain to people what's going on, it's not sticker shock. If they see a big DoorDash logo when they order, they're like, oh yeah, DoorDash, my $7 salad cost me $35 last week. People are familiar with this experience, right? And so if you put it out there, you say, this is done by DoorDash and Jordan Berry's helping me pay for that and he's going to subsidize and help me cover that cost. It's a really, really excellent experience. It also helps augment if you say, hey, free pickup and delivery on my website because you have your own drivers. And you see that I have my own drivers that go out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but it's a Tuesday. And they see an on-demand option. They're okay with this community saying to pay a little bit because they're choosing the on-demand option. So I think that transparency is really king. Let the customer know exactly what's going on so they can contextualize what that fee is. And then it's like an easy yes. When we made some of those changes that we've already made, we saw tips go up. right? Because the more you contextualize, the more people humanize this delivery experience, and the more they're saying, yeah, I'm willing to pay for that.
Well, one of the things that just that Gilly touched on is what we love to see is how much and how often customers tip the driver.
Yeah.
Because that shows, it speaks volumes to the kind of experience. It's also why gig-based drivers love this, because customers are they're just happy about the experience and they're generous. And so it's exactly as Gilly says, how the operators can show that they're subsidizing, or you don't subsidize, it is the cost. And then you also monetize and increase the price of your service, and you really make a fortune. Again, as Gilly said, it's not a one size fits all. But you know, that's the kind of the really interesting dynamic nature. And I just saw a question that said, can the customer tip the store as well as the driver? And yes, and they're actually at two different points, right? Because when it arrives at the store and it's finished processing, the employee has done the work. And so we want to make sure, and it's on different screens, that the customer knows that they are tipping the store. There's a relationship between them and the store. And during the driver experience and those driver notifications and placing those orders, that's when the driver tip is happening. And we see more often than not, both happen, because there are separate relationships between driver and store. The same way if you had your own logistics experience and your own drivers, that a customer might tip the driver as well as tip your store. So differentiating between the two is really, really important.
Yeah, awesome. That's cool. I didn't even know that you could do that, tip the driver and the store. That's a really cool feature. All right, last question. I know we're bumping up against it. Well, we're a little bit over it, but I got one more question. I think it was a good one. Somebody had asked it. And the question is essentially, are there like territories? How does this work? Do you, with, different laundromats maybe that are in similar areas? How do you guys handle that?
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of it is our goal is to give the tools to every operator in the country to grow their business. We don't promote one business over the other. You don't go into the DoorDash app today and place an order for one specific laundromat. We don't believe in the marketplace or download the Sense app and stores pay us for advertising, or we rank one over the other. We don't believe in that at all. Most customers won't even know Sense is involved. In a perfect world, they just know that the business is involved. And so for us, it's about how can we help all of our operators, give them the best tools, the best chance to grow their business. And the market is the market. And so, that's really the experience that we go after, is to empower the operators, give them the tools, and put them in a position to grow their business. But for us, Sense doesn't have a favorite laundromat that we direct orders to or anything like that. We're the back-end engine that's pushing what we consider, and what we hope is pushing the industry forward. What we care about is elevating the industry itself and bringing attention that local operators and local independent operators are the future of laundry and the key to the most convenient, affordable, and logistically efficient laundry experience for any consumer in America.
Yeah, and so the last thing I'll just add to that is, it's the coolest thing about our industry is that these truly are entrepreneurs. The grit and the hustle are not lost on these guys. And so if we can provide the best tools, amazing, we're already seeing amazing things happen, people taking advantage and coming up with innovative ideas that we never would have thought of.
Love that. You want to hit this last question? I already said last question, but you want to hit this last one that said, can the business be rated by the customer?
Yeah, so we're building out right now, especially in the response after an order, the ability for that customer to rate their experience. And the way that we envisioned it is to be an internal rating for the operator to know how well is their store doing. Of course, there's a lot more that we want to do with ratings in general, but the most important thing in our eyes is at least give the visibility, because we track everything. What we're talking about on this call is pickup and delivery. But really what Sense is the operating for your store. Whether you're a self-serve operator, whether you're a full service operator, whether you're a multi-store owner, a chain, or a single store operator, everything about your business can be tracked and managed on Sense. And of course, pickup and delivery can be a big part of that. And what we really aim to do is give you visibility into the heartbeat and the performance of your store, and your machines, your customers, and your attendants. Because we want to be able to pair a rating of an order with a specific customer, specific ticket value, order value, and the employee that did the processing. Was it a different employee that took in the order than who did the processing? Was it the same? Those are the kind of insights that we want to be able to connect to just, to not just a rating system, but something that's going to give you all that visualization. But definitely take a demo if you want to learn more about the product, the flow, the customer experience, your experience as the operator, your attendant. That's going to be the best way for you to really get a sense of the breadth of what we offer.
Here comes a link to that demo right down there. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see the extent of my power. Gilly, Alex, behind the legendary bios and the oh, look at that. Behind the legendary bios and the dashing handsomeness is legitimate wisdom and knowledge. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, I loved every second of this thing, and not just because I love talking to you guys, but also there's just so much good information, and it really is an exciting time to be in the laundry industry right now. Whether you're going the pickup and delivery route or not, it's a very, very exciting time to be in this business. There's a lot of very exciting things going on right now. I think Sense is one of those exciting things. And again, I want to encourage everybody who's attending right now or who's maybe watching this later, check out trisense.com/demo. Go have, a conversation with those guys. That's what they're there for. I don't think they're going to hard sell you on anything. So go, and just, let them know where you're at in your process. If you're ready to go have a conversation and say, hey, show me the software and show me that it's going to work for me. If you're not quite there yet, go say, hey, I don't know that I'm quite there yet. Here's what I'm thinking. Help me think through it and let me know if you think Sense can help me get going and do it in a way that's going to be beneficial to my business. So guys, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate you and the time that you took away from your busy schedules to do this webinar. And thanks for inviting me.
And thank you. And everybody go sign up for the Laundromat resource and do everything that Jordan tells you. And if it doesn't go well, blame Jordan. But no, Jordan, thank you so much for emceeing. You are the absolute best, and we love working with you. And really appreciate all your time and energy and insight that you bring to the industry as a whole. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it, man. Likewise, right back at you. All right, guys, go enjoy your evenings and go take some action, and let that action be go to trisense.com/demo and have a conversation. See you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.